Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of IIT India's Walk the Tech Talk series, Season 2, in association with India Automated. In case you have missed out on any of our previous episodes or episodes of Season 1 of Walk the Tech Talk series, then please do check them out on IIT India's YouTube channel. Before we begin with today's episode, I would like to give you a sneak peek into the world of the IIT. The Institution of Engineering and Technology is one of the oldest and largest professional society for engineers. Soon to turn 150, our mission is to engineer a better world. Our areas of focus include future of mobility and transport, future technologies, and future of work. In case you would like to become a member of the IET, all that you will need to do is send us an email at indiamembership@theiet.in. Without further delay, I would like to welcome on stage your host for this series, Mr. Pranjal Sharma, the author of India Automated, to introduce today's topic of discussion and our speaker guest. Hi, Pranjal.
Hello, Johnny.
Now, I'm going to be away. It's all over to you. You can introduce our speaker guest and topic of discussion as well.
Thank you. This edition is very exciting because it's about a theme of digital transformation. And joining me today for a conversation is Dilip Sawhney, who heads a global company, Rockwell Automation, in India. Dilip, thanks for being part of Walk the Tech Talk. You know, a lot of people talk about digital transformation, and it's a very common issue. But what we want to talk about today is not just the theory of it, but the practice of it. How do you achieve that digital transformation? How do you make it happen, and not just discuss it in an academic way? But before that, we'd like to hear a little bit about what Rockwell has been doing in India.
Sure. Hey, good evening, Pranjal. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show, as well as I would like to say a big hello to all of your audience that's interacting with us live. Rockwell Automation, we are a 115-year-old company. We are extremely focused in what we do in terms of our focus on industrial automation and information. That's what we've been doing for a long period of time, and we are absolutely excited, to be in these times, right? Because digital transformation, as you put it, or the convergence of information technologies and IT technologies, as is commonly alluded to, right? It's becoming core and central to the agendas of manufacturing organizations, small and big. In India, we've been present here for over 35 years, and we are extremely proud that we have deep-rooted, trusting relationships with a wide set of customers across the country. Again, large and small end user OEMs, EPCs, etc. And while we've been here for a long period of time, but we look ahead for the next 10, 20 years because there's just so much of work to happen, and we feel that we can contribute a lot of value.
Dilip, you have personally led a lot of these projects of digital transformation. Can you give us a couple of examples of what digital transformation is about in a very practical sense, and how do you really get it going?
Sure. So, digital transformation is all about leverage. You can define it many different ways, but let's simplistically put it that, you are leveraging the new age technologies, cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, mixed reality, augmented reality, et cetera. How do you leverage these new age technologies and, mash them up with the technologies that have always been used in manufacturing? What are we talking about? We're talking about, distributed control systems, PLCs, robotics, SCADA, and all of that, right? Now, as you bring about this convergence, and essentially as you're bringing together the information that is there on the enterprise side of the business, and merge it and mash it up with the information that comes in a real-time streaming manner out of your production processes, and if you're able to have a common digital thread that runs across the enterprise, it allows you to look at your business in a whole different manner, right? And that creates several possibilities, which allows you to address problems and issues in a manner in which it was up until just a handful of years ago not even thought about, right? And as we go along, I can probably cite a few examples, but it is that confluence of conventional OT technologies and these new age technologies which is opening up new possibilities, and that allows you to carry out the digital transformation of your manufacturing enterprise.
Then that's a great point. The challenge in India, which I'm sure you have faced several times, is that the legacy systems tend to stop you from innovating, or that's a barrier you have to leap over. What do you do with your older industrial machinery? How do you map it to the new automation which is coming in? Because if you want to transform your organization, you cannot do it in parts. You have to do it from end to end. From sourcing of raw material to the final product which leaves your factory, for instance. So can you share a couple of examples or help us understand how this works?
Sure. So first of all, right, just because you want to, carry out digital transformation, you're not going to be discarding all the extremely valuable assets, factories, plants that you have, right? When you're implementing digital transformation, you're essentially playing with the very heart of, shall we call it, the value generating or the revenue generating engine, right? So it's got to be approached very cautiously, right? Now, what ends up happening is, you've got, tons of existing automation systems or manufacturing systems of some sort that are installed, right? And they are creating, of course, a vast amount of data that's already getting created. It's just that you're not able to access it because it is siloed in very proprietary systems, right? That's the current state assessment, right? And because it is hard to access that information, it actually ends up creating missed opportunity. There's a study that had monetized this missed opportunity just in the form of unscheduled downtime, right? Not scheduled downtime, unscheduled, which you did not foresee. And this was a study that was carried out a handful of years ago, in the US, and over there it was amounting to a staggering $20 billion of lost value just on account of that, right? So if you could, figure out ways that allowed you to bring together all of this information, right, by appropriate methods, right, that can give you visibility which is unprecedented. And if that allows you to even delay or mitigate a fraction of that downtime, then it's a big win for any manufacturer, right? That's one example, but it's just to point out that you cannot just wish away the challenges that you presently have, which is the state of the current installed base, and you have to have appropriate methodologies of taking that along with you as you implement your digital transformation strategies.
So if somebody approaches you, Dilip, and says, "Well, I want to change the way that I manufacture, or I need a review, or I want to revamp my industrial production machinery," what's the kind of initial advice that you give? What should be the approach? What are the right questions to ask before you find the right answer?
Sure. That's a very, very it's a great question, and Pranjal, this is also a very, very important aspect, right? And sometimes this is where you lose the plot, if I can put it in that manner. What do I mean by that? Is anytime you undertake a digital transformation journey, just because you want to implement a digital transformation, right? Um, we usually advise our customers to stop, right? Stop, because you cannot implement digital transformation for the sake of implementing digital transformation. You got to be very mindful of what are the business outcomes that you wish to drive, or the objectives that you hope to achieve through the implementation of digital transformation. So it is a consultative process. You got to sit down. You got to have workshops. You got to understand what are the challenges that are keeping them from achieving their objectives today, right? And the challenges could be very many, right? There are a host of ways in which we've understood why people feel constrained. It could be it could be the example that I cited, that they are having downtime instances that they have no clue about, or they get to know only after the fact, right? It could be because they are not having timely knowledge for one area of the plant when it's going to get starved out because the upstream stops supplying to it. So appropriate decision support, and the heads up coming at the right time, and most importantly, analytics, predictive analytics, because there's just so much of capability that systems have now. But if you could translate that into appropriate, decision support about either when an equipment is likely to fail, or when a process is likely to go out of spec before it goes out of spec, so you are given some reaction time, and you're given advice around what to do about it. You're presented with some choices. And all of these things actually empower you, as a person who may be, either a line side operator or a plant supervisor or what have you, right?
Yeah, but the questions could be, as you said, Dilip, the questions could be more. So, as you said, downtime is an issue, but overall competitiveness could be a larger question, because maybe your competition has a better process end to end. Maybe the products that you're making are not no longer of the same quality, or perhaps the entire paradigm has changed. So you have to upskill or upgrade your entire system to create a product that you may never have created earlier. So I guess that transformation is far more holistic than just looking at downtime as one of the dimensions.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. It's what part of your entire value chain are you thinking about transforming, right? And you're pulling the camera back and you're looking at it more holistically, Pranjal, as to where is it that your enterprise is lacking competitiveness, and where do you want to focus on, and then what's the art of the possible around that piece of your value chain, right? But
is there an anecdote? Is there an anecdote that you'd like to share with us of a company that may have come to you and you probably gave them the right advice?
I'm going to give you a simple example, right? And this is to do with a life sciences pharmaceutical company, right? Let's say you want to understand how a new process might work. Let's take the example of a bioreactor. You're literally having a cell culture inside of that, right? Which multiplies or grows at a certain biological rate, right? Imagine having to do your simulations or your experimentation, if you will, with the real systems, right? And imagine if you could create a digital twin of the bioreactor by simulating the entire response of the physical system in the digital realm. All of a sudden, it opens up unprecedented possibilities. I'll cite two examples. The first one is it allows you it hastens the speed of innovation, and you can really imagine how that happens, because you're literally operating in the digital realm. But more importantly, when you are actually experiencing let's say some problems, or a process issue, and you want to do an online simulation of what if scenarios, what if I did this, you could not have executed that in the digital realm, but you could very easily do that. You could not have executed that in the physical form, but you could very easily simulate it while your process is going on, and see what the outcome would be, and correspondingly choose to either implement it or not implement it. That is one example. Another one example is virtual commissioning, right? What does virtual commissioning mean these days, right? You have a complex piece of machinery which is which has been ordered. You have a plant, at a remote site, in India, and you have a machinery supplier someplace in Europe or maybe Taiwan. It's on the way. It's yet to arrive. When the machine physically arrives, you hook it up, and then you begin the actual process of commissioning. That's the way things used to happen, right? Increasingly, people are beginning to adopt, and we've been working with a lot of line builders and machinery suppliers, right, who are having the ability to digitally commission their systems. What that means is your entire logic, that has been developed for the machine, right, gets simulated in the digital realm, and you could physically simulate every possible mode of operation, right, as if you are operating the real machine, right, so that when the machine actually arrives, and carry out changes as may be necessary. So when the machine arrives, your setup time actually gets shrunk down to probably a fraction. If it was weeks, it becomes days, and so forth. So those are a couple of things that came to my mind out of recent conversations in the last 2 weeks, right? I hope that was what you had in mind.
Right, Dilip. Thanks. No, that's very exciting and fascinating, because that also shows how things are changing. You in some ways can prepare for the future much better, and that's how digital transformation is really. That's what it's all about, to be able to be far more in control of what you're doing. But as you said earlier, and I'm going to summarize it here, is that you have to be very clear about what you want to achieve, what is your objective. And if you know what your objective is, then I think achieving digital transformation becomes so much more easier. Dilip, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your experiences and examples. And I hope to see you soon again with the show. Bye.
Thank you so much, Pranjal. My pleasure. Have a nice evening.